Hello there and welcome once again to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Meyers. We're here every week, as you know, meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues, and we welcome back a good friend.
Yes, an old-time friend of ours, Kay Floyd, senator from Oklahoma County, is going to join us and talk about a number of things, talk a little bit about her career, talk a little bit about the session that's going on right now, and perhaps we might even get into what's in the future for Kay.
Her last session. It'll be interesting to see
Yes.
what she has to say, looking back and looking forward to the conclusion here.
Yeah, we may give you a surprise, information you haven't heard before.
It's all coming up today on The Verdict. We'll be right back.
Right now, 6 feet can feel like a long ways away. But from 6 feet, we can still smile at each other. From our doorways and our stairways, from opposite sides of the street and opposite sides of the country. Through fear and frustrations, we can remind each other that we are still here for each other. Because we can still smile at each other. And we're not going anywhere.
Military service ran in my blood, starting from my father, which joined the Navy. On the Chickasaw side, my uncle, which served in the United States Army. I'm Benjamin Espinosa, Chief Petty Officer, United States Navy, and I'm Chickasaw. I went to the Secretary of Defense's staff at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., which ultimately led to becoming a combat support technician for Naval Special Warfare, specifically SEAL Team 10. I think to be proud and to love your tribe, to love being Chickasaw, you also have to love being American. You also have to love everything that America stands for. Equality, perseverance, professionalism, and power. I want my family to know that their father is a good person, but also feels that he has an obligation to the country and to love this nation. Anything worth having is worth dying for. The military and the country owes me nothing. I owe it everything.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers. Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Yeah, as we talked about in the open, we're really pleased to welcome back Kay Floyd, Democratic State Senator. In fact, the leader of the Democrats in the State Senate. Back to a third show with us. It's been a while, but we're going to catch up, I hope, today. But to remind you, Kay did her undergraduate work at Oklahoma State University and her law work at Oklahoma University. She had a comprehensive legal career, and as I wrote that down the other day, I thought, every aspect of her career has been comprehensive, and as will, I think, be evident from this introduction. But as a lawyer, she has been a municipal judge, she has been an administrative law judge, she has worked with legal aid, she has been an adjunct professor at Oklahoma State University, and recently she joined the firm of Riggs Abney, a wonderful law firm in Oklahoma, and she'll be a good addition to that organization. She started out her legislative career in the House of Representatives, where she served one term, and then began her service as a state senator, where she has served since 2014, and she's term limiting out this session. This will be her last session. Kay, welcome. We're sure glad to have you.
Thanks for having me. I always enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Well, tell us how the session's going overall.
Well, we're over halfway through, and of course the most important thing that we are supposed to do as a legislature constitutionally is the budget. So when we get to the second half of session, the budget starts to heat up, discussions start to heat up. We are doing things a little different this year. President Pro Tem Greg Treat and Appropriations Chair Roger Thompson introduced an open and transparent budget process. And I will tell you, my caucus, the Democratic caucus, was very pleased. We have asked for a more open and transparent budget process now for, well, the entire time I've been there, and I know even a few years before that. So they listened to the concerns. I think they got a lot of positive feedback from their caucus. And so instead of having just a few people in the room discussing the budget, going over all the numbers, the subcommittee chairs have been given more responsibility, and the budget discussion has included all the members who wanted to be included in it. I have 5 members on appropriations. I have members on each one of the subcommittees. So we've been at the table, we've been part of the discussion. We don't get listened to as much as we'd like, but that's okay. The process, I think, is a very good process.
Has it changed the way it's reported? Has the media had more access and have thus been able to pass along and communicate details more than they have previously?
They have. When we go into a budget hearing now for full appropriations, we're in a huge conference room, which that's not different. But they actually, Senator Thompson will put the budget up on a big screen behind him, so everybody in the room, and that's a big room, can see the budget. And as we address certain issues or monies to go to this project or to this agency, they put the numbers up there and we can see in real time how much money we're spending. It's actually an amazing process. Now, the House is not using the same process, and so that's slowed us down a little bit, or I guess we've slowed them down a little bit, depending on who you're talking to. But we got past a couple of hurdles and were able to get back into appropriations meeting just yesterday and get reports from the subcommittees. So it's not a perfect system, but this is what Democrats have asked for a very long time, and so we'll see how well it works.
Well, you've served in both houses,
I have.
and you can compare both systems. And I suppose the Senate system used to be closer to what the House system still is. Is it your general view now that the current Senate system being employed is superior?
I think it remains to be seen.
Okay.
I mean, we've still got 2 more weeks in April and then 4 weeks in May.
Yeah.
So we're just over the halfway point. And as we get closer to the end of session and the budget becomes more and more prominent, there's more and more horse trading, if you will, then we'll see if it stays open and transparent, and we'll see if it works well. We're kind of building the plane while we're flying it, so we'll see. And I'm hopeful. Now the issue that we're going to have as a caucus is the open and transparent part's been great, and we appreciate the fact that it's finally there. But you're still going to have the philosophical differences on what we should spend the money on.
Sure.
And that's the process is not about that. That's the policy part of it. So.
Well, we have done shows with and without you in the past where the concern was there just wasn't enough money to go around, and somebody was really going to get hit and hurt, perhaps, and services diminished. We're not in that situation today, I take it.
Well, we always need more money.
Sure.
Because we've got such great need in the state. A few years ago, we had the CARES Act money as a result of COVID. That was administered by the governor's office. When the second tranche of money came through the ARPA money, Rescue Act monies, that was allocated to the legislature to be in charge of. And we had 4 working committees that basically went over every one of the projects, and there were hundreds and hundreds of requests for money through the ARPA project. So those two sessions, we had a little bit of a cushion because we had a great deal of federal money coming in. We don't have that now, and so we're back to having to really make some tough decisions on what we're going to spend our money on.
How is revenue?
Revenue is, we're an oil and gas state, so it comes and goes. I can tell you that we did a grocery tax, statewide sales tax on groceries was eliminated. And so that was revenue that we eliminated, but it was a very good thing for the people of Oklahoma. It was statewide. It eliminated grocery tax. The cities and counties were exempt. So Oklahoma City, which is my district, needs that sales tax. And so there was a little horse trading going on with that, and it took a few years to get it done. So that's probably one of the biggest cuts to revenue that we've had.
Was the elimination of that tax something that's going on beyond the borders of Oklahoma and other states, or do other states tax groceries as we do?
It's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you look at, you can't look at one tax cut or one elimination in a vacuum, at least statewide. You know, you've got, okay, well, if we cut this, where are we going to make up that revenue? And it's, as you all know, it's just the domino effect. You can't cut one without making up the revenue someplace else. And that's part of the budget process that we're still looking at.
Mm-hmm. The House of Representatives was faced with a vote this past week on whether or not to send, I guess, to the Senate and then on to the people for a vote to make significant changes in the way judge vacancies are filled in Oklahoma through the Judicial Nominating Commission.
Yes.
As an outside observer, I was somewhat surprised. I was particularly surprised to see that the House, by a 2-to-1 margin, did not deem that favorable. And I personally, not that it matters, but I personally agree on that issue at least. I think the Judicial Nominating Commission offers a wonderful alternative to strict political appointment. Tell me what your thoughts have been about the actions of the House in that regard, and do you have any sense about where that same question might be in the Senate?
Well, I've been in the, as you said, the House and the Senate for 12 years now, and this issue of changing the Judicial Nominating Commission has come up every year. Maybe there was one year it didn't, but it comes up every year. And your listeners may not know this, but in 1960, we had a huge national scandal in Oklahoma. Our Supreme Court justices were taking bribes. They were taking money for making certain decisions. And when it came to light and they were arrested, the people of Oklahoma just said, we've had enough, and they went to the ballot box on a state question and basically created the Judicial Nominating Commission, which we've had ever since the 60s. And it's worked great. It's 15 people. 6 have to be lawyers. 5 of those 6 represent each one of the congressional districts. The governor appoints 6, and then the 12 together find 6 more, so it's 18-member, and it makes all the recommendations for the Supreme Court to the governor, and then the governor makes the final decision. Its retention ballot is also was part of the state question, so if the people don't like the judges that are appointed, they get an opportunity to vote them out of office every 6 years. What the bill that you're talking about that I've seen for, as I say, 12 years, was going to do away with that entire process. Yeah. And it was going to give the Senate, the governor would pick and the Senate would confirm, like the federal model. And it completely eliminated retention ballot.
Senator Kay Floyd is our guest today. We'll have more with Kay Floyd when we return on the verdict.
At Whitten Burridge, we're litigators. That's all we do. All of our clients, some sort of wrong has occurred to them. We try to right that wrong. Corporate America, they have all the power. It's sort of like going against an army. I like helping the underdog. That's what gets me up out of bed every day.
Our success rate is phenomenal, but that's not all they get. We care about people.
I'm very proud of what we've been able to do for our clients, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to do in the future. There's still a lot of wrongs that need to be righted.
OU Law has a history and heritage that are unparalleled. At the University of Oklahoma College of Law, we empower our students to pursue the career of their dreams. We have the highest U.S. News ranking ever achieved by an Oklahoma law school. We are the first law school in the country to launch a college-wide digital initiative. And this year, our competition teams rank number 2 in the nation. OU Law, generations of excellence, limitless possibilities.
One of the best kept secrets about the post 9/11 GI Bill benefit is that it can be used at a trade school or a technical school, and it doesn't have to be used at a university or college. These are benefits that the veterans have earned through their service, and they should take advantage of it.
Veterans really need to understand that there are many resources offered by the Oklahoma Department of Veteran Affairs. They're there to help you find the right school for you, the school that will help you and your family make great steps into your future.
New year, safer you. Get your safety on. This year, let's all make it home safe. Make Oklahoma safe.
We're back on The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers and our guest, Senator Kay Floyd.
Kay, I have just been following generally in the newspaper an issue that is making its way through the legislative process in some form or another. You can tell us about it, I'm sure. And this is my words, my phrase, nobody else's, to toughen up the initiative petition process in Oklahoma. In other words, to make it harder to get an initiative petition matter on the ballot. Can you tell me where is that process and what is the argument that it is has merit?
Well, that bill on the the Senate side went through general government, and I sit on that committee. And there's really not a good argument for it, to be honest with you. The proponents say that it toughens it up, that we've got to protect the integrity of the initiative petition process, but they can't point to any specific instance why that's necessary. And there is, to be candid, a national movement in many states to try to gain control over the initiative petition process because, frankly, in states like Oklahoma, the people use the initiative petition process to basically have done what they want to do when their elected officials won't do it. And so to make it harder for the petitions to be set up, to be signatures gotten, the whole process to make that harder means that the people have less say in the laws that are drafted and put into place, and the politicians have more.
And the history in our country of the initiative petition process is to be a check on the power of the legislature. And if the people don't like what the legislature is doing, giving them an opportunity to vote on it. And we've used it over and over and over again. We were, I think, the first or the second state to western part of the United States to adopt the initiative petition process in our original version of the Oklahoma Constitution. In other words, the founding fathers of Oklahoma put it in there because, frankly, the founding fathers had a real reluctance to turn that much power over to the legislature.
They didn't seem to trust anybody.
No, they didn't. They didn't trust each other. And
Right.
I'm sure they wouldn't trust me. But so where do you think, put on your crystal ball hat and tell me how you think that's going to come out.
Well, if the rest of the members of the legislature are getting as much feedback from their constituents as I am, it needs to die, frankly. I mean, one of the things that comes to my mind, just going over the bill in my head, is the filing fee is now going to be $1,000.
Yeah,
that's prohibitive to a lot of people, and it's completely unnecessary. So that's just one example. And as people are learning about this, they're calling the representatives and their senators and saying, why are we doing this? This is our way of getting things done if you all aren't doing it. And there's really no good reason for it.
Yeah, we have an initiative petition hit the ballot, not every year, but sometimes maybe 3 out of 5 years or something like that. If this does pass, I would predict we wouldn't have one every 10 years. It tightens it up in so many ways when our method is so restrictive now compared to other states that it's a death knell for initiative petitions, I'm afraid.
Well, one of the drafts of the bill said that you had to do criminal background checks on anybody that was going to be gathering signatures. Yeah. And the question was asked, why are we doing that? And there wasn't an answer. And the bill itself didn't address what happens if they do have a criminal background. Yeah. It was like, well, okay, let's say they do have a criminal background. Are they still allowed to gather signatures? And under the language of the bill, they were. So it was obvious that some of the things were put in there just to try to deter people from using the initiative petition process.
Well, if you were trying to encourage the initiative petition process, you'd be using technology and the internet, would you not? If we have an entire banking system that's on the internet, certainly we can secure signatures properly, but that doesn't seem to be having any legs.
No, and I think that to your point, there are a lot of ways that we can improve the process, but the bills that I saw that were run, they weren't trying to improve the process, they were trying to restrict the use of the process.
Which is exactly what the framers of our Constitution were trying to prevent. Yeah. Interesting. I also hear the people use the term legislature as if everyone in the House and Senate thinks alike and acts alike and works along, gets along, and they're this one entity. Whether it's good or bad, it's one entity. But as an outsider looking at it, it seems to me that the House and Senate are very much separate entities, and that plays out in every session and every day down there. Can you reflect on that? Or
You've been both places.
I have been both places, and your observation is very accurate. When I first started, I was told, they asked the newbie, what do you think is the biggest divide? And I said, well, probably the House and the Senate. And they said, no. And I said, well, Democrat and Republican. And they said, no. They said the biggest divide at the Capitol is the rural versus urban, because their needs are different. The second one was Tulsa versus Oklahoma City. And the third was Democrat versus Republican. So we are definitely two separate chambers, 48 in the Senate, 101 in the House, so just the sheer numbers mean that the process that's used is used differently.
And House members are seemingly always running for re-election because it's every 2 years,
that's
and
right.
that's part of the process, whereas the Senate gets a little bit of a breather.
We get 4 years, so that is a bit of a breather, but we're staggered, so there's an election for us every 2 years. It's even number, odd number for us.
We got a little over a minute to go. What do you want our viewers to know about this session, or looking back on your tenure as an elected official? What do you think?
Well, we've had a lot of special sessions in the 12 years I've been there, and so that's made it at times seem like we were just continually in session. We serve year round, but we're in session 4 months. But when you have a special session and you're called back in, we had 2 or 3 years of revenue failure, and so we had to work on the budget almost year round during that period of time. So that was tough. But this year I've seen. I'm pleased with the budget process. Not great, but it's better than it was. I hope it stays open and transparent so the people can see it. I'm concerned that to be candid, the presidential election is causing, I think, more tension than I would have anticipated at the state level. So, and I think some bills that we're seeing are reflective of that. But overall, I get along well with members of the House, probably because I started there, and I've been able to work with them on my bills. So looking back at 12 years, I'm going to miss parts of it. I'm not going to miss all of it.
And we'll make that the final word. Senator Floyd, thank you for your service to Oklahoma, and good luck in the next stage.
Thank you.
All
Thanks,
right.
Kay.
Thank you, Kent.
Kent, now the final word when we return.
This is the epidemic of my generation. This is my HIV. This is my Black Plague.
In the midst of one of our state's largest crises,
Oklahomans are dying from this preventable and treatable disease on a daily basis.
We believe there's hope.
That little pill will cause destruction through your whole life.
Watch the entire award-winning 9-part docuseries Killing Pain, made available by Fighting Addiction Through Education at killingpain.com.
It used to be okay in hospitals. It used to be okay in movie theaters. It was okay in classrooms, restaurants, and airplanes. But thanks to a greater understanding of the dangers, that's not okay anymore. So now that we know secondhand smoke causes lifelong health problems, why is it still okay to smoke with children in the car? Bottom line, it's not okay. Let's get serious about protecting kids. Join the fight at stopswithme.com.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
You have children coming from a different lifestyle, different mindset. You have to open your arms and really do what you have to do to have that child become a part of your family. And if it's more patience, that's what you do. Kids gotta know they can trust you. And that's what we try to do with these kids.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers. We are wrapping up a show with Senator Kay Floyd.
Yeah, Senator Floyd's done a great job in everything she's approached and really served the people well, and we're pleased to have her on just as she's exiting her legislative career.
And I appreciate it as a former mayor, her service as a municipal judge. Those are, talk about thankless jobs. We're very appreciative down in City Hall for things like that. We have a couple of websites for you. You can find out more about Kay and the people she works with at oksenate.gov. And we have a website, theverdict.tv. We'll see you next week.